All right, this lesson we're going to start talking about the law of cosines. You are going to need just a basic calculator that will just do subtraction and squaring numbers. But other than that, we're going to leave our answers in the form that you'll see them on the challenge exam. All right, so this is lesson 6.2a, Law of Cosines. All right, so I talked about in the previous lessons, like when you use law of sines. So just a quick reminder, you use law of sines whenever you have two angles on any side or two sides and an opposite angle. So we're going to use law of cosines at different times. So we use that when you're given three sides or when you're given two sides and their included angle. So we talked about before law of sines, when it was the opposite angle, that angle would match one of your sides. In this case, whenever it's the included angle, the angle doesn't match either side. All right, now the law of cosines is given to you on the reference sheet. Also on the ACT, they will give you the law of cosines. All right, so what you'll be given is exactly what it'll look like on the challenge exam reference sheet is a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc times the cosine of a. So it's kind of a lot going on. So this is what you would do if you were given side B, side C, and angle A. So those are the things that you have in the problem. And you could use those to find side A. Now we'll have to kind of change this up a little bit depending on what we're given. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So for example 1, we're going to solve the triangle. This is going to take some time. So what we're given on example 1, side A is 9, side B is 12, and side C is 14. Okay, so I'm going to use, for the first go around, I'm going to use the formula exactly like it looks. All right, so we're going to put in everything that we know. And then that's going to leave us with one thing we don't know that we're going to find. So I'm going to take 9 and put it in for A. I'm going to take 12 and put it in for B. And 14 and put it in for C. Now the 12 and the 14 have to go multiple places. Now sometimes on the ACT, I see them stop right here. And then this is the choice that you pick. The challenge exam, I think they're going to have you do a few more things. So what we're going to do eventually is solve this for A. This is going to take a little bit of time. So what I'm going to do, go ahead and square 9. All right, then I'm going to square 12 and 14 and add them together. And that's going to give me 340. then I'll go ahead and multiply 2 times 12 times 14. And get 336. Now, I cannot subtract 340 minus 336 and get 4 cosine of A because they're not like terms. This 336 is connected to that cosine of A, so I would only be able to subtract it with another cosine of A, so that I cannot do that. That's a really common mistake that people want to do. It would make it so much easier if you could do that, but you can't. So think about solving this for A. What I would want to do is move that 340 over to the other side by subtracting by it. All right. And then I'm still solving for A, so I'm going to divide by negative 336. Now, that's not going to reduce, but I would just cancel out the negative. So it's negative divided by a negative is a positive. Okay, and then now I know what the cosine of angle A is. If I want to find the angle, I'm going to do the inverse cosine of that fraction. All right, and that's how I would represent angle A. Okay, I have to do this for the other two angles, so I have to kind of change my formula up a little bit to find angle B and to find angle C. All right, so if you guys notice, the side over here does have to match the angle that we're looking for. So if we want to find angle B, we're going to have to say that side B squared is equal to a bunch of stuff. And then in the end over here, it's going to have to be cosine of B. All right, and then the sides that are used here and here are the sides that don't match with the angle you're finding. So that, in this case, is going to be A squared plus C squared. And then in front of your cosine is going to be 2AC. All right, so then I'll go back and put in my ABC. All right, and then start plugging in the calculator or doing it in your head if you want to. It doesn't matter to me. I know you can do some squaring in your head and adding in your head. All right, and then same rules like I talked about before. I cannot subtract 277 and 252. So what I have to do instead is move the 277 over to the other side by subtracting it. All right, and then dropping down the other side of the equation. And then dividing. Okay, and then we're to that same situation where we know what the cosine of B is and we want to find what the angle is. We're going to do the inverse cosine. And that's how we can represent angle B. Okay, so now I want you guys to take the law of cosines, like what it looks like on the challenge exam reference sheet was what this is right here, sorry. And then I want you to rewrite it rearrange the A, B, and C so we can find angle C. Hope you guys can't hear my stomach growling. Okay, so this is what it should look like. All right, and then we just start plugging in. All right, and then same old stuff. So we're squaring and adding. And then 2 times 9 times 12. All right, and then subtracting. Dividing. All right, and so C should be the inverse cosine of that fraction. Okay, now I'm just going to do one more example. And we're just going to find one part on this one because if you're given all of your side lengths, you can find all of your angles not using a calculator. But if you're given the two sides and one angle, the angle in between, you're only going to be able to find one side. The rest of it, you would have to have a calculator to do. So it's okay. We're gonna do our best. So we're given that angle A is 75 degrees, side B is 12, and side C is 10. What I want you guys to do is find side A. All right, so this one is two sides and one angle, and we know it's the angle between because the letter doesn't match the letter on either of the sides. So when you see that, two sides and one angle, and the angle doesn't match either side, we're going to do law of cosines. And so A squared is going to equal B squared plus C squared minus 2BC times the cosine of angle A. All right, so then we'll just go ahead and plug in what we know. All right, sometimes on the ACT they leave it like that. Sometimes on the ACT they'll just go ahead and do the square root and leave it under square root. I'm going to do a little more because I think on our challenge exam they'll want you to do a little bit more than that. So I'll go ahead and square these. So 144 plus 100 is 244. And then multiply these together. 2 times 12 times 10 is 240. All right. And again, we still can't subtract that because the cosine is attached. So we would just finally put our answer is the square root of 244 minus 240 times the cosine of 75 degrees, and just leave it like that. All right. So your assignment is kind of short. Well, 2 of them are going to be kind of long like our first example, and 2 of them will be fairly short like this one. So on page 415, I want you guys to do 6. And then on number 10, it tells you to solve it, but we're not going to. So you're just going to find C only. That should be a side length C. No. Wait. Yes, sorry. I was looking at the wrong one. And then on 14, do the whole problem. And then on 18, you're going to find side A only.